The phone rang at the Hells Angels clubhouse at 2:47 a.m. A child's terrified whisper saying, "My belly won't stop moving," before the line went dead, and 8 bikers realized she'd dialed them instead of 911. Before we start the story, tell us wherever you're watching from. Tell us in the comments, what touched you most in this story? The Hells Angels Riverside Charter Clubhouse in rural Oregon sat quiet in the pre-dawn darkness, most of the brothers already gone home for the night. Only Reaper, the club's road captain, remained awake doing paperwork in the back office when the landline rang. Strange, considering most people used cell phones now, and this number wasn't exactly public knowledge. He almost didn't answer. "Yeah," Reaper said gruffly, expecting a wrong number or drunk dial. What he heard instead made his blood freeze. Heavy breathing, small and panicked, then a child's voice barely above a whisper. "Please help me. My belly keeps moving and it hurts so bad. I tried to call 911, but I think I pressed the wrong buttons." Reaper sat up straight, his 43 years of hard living suddenly sharpening into focus. "Kid, where are you? Where's your parents?" "Mommy's at work. Uncle Brett is here, but he's the one who..." The line cut to static, then silence. Dead air that screamed with implications Reaper didn't want to consider but couldn't ignore. Reaper hit redial immediately. The phone rang 8 times before going to a generic voicemail. He tried again. Nothing. His mind raced through possibilities: prank call, wrong number, kid watching too much TV. But that voice, that genuine terror, the way she'd said Uncle Brett is the one who before the line died. He'd been around long enough to recognize real fear. He pulled up the call log on the ancient landline system. The incoming number showed a local area code, a residential line registered to an address on rural Route 14. Reaper knew that road, scattered properties, farms mostly, isolated enough that screaming wouldn't reach neighbors. He grabbed his leather vest and keys, then paused. Protocol said call the cops, let professionals handle it. But something in that child's voice told him time mattered more than procedure right now. He compromised, pulling out his cell and calling Wade Diesel Morrison, the charter sergeant-at-arms who lived 10 minutes away. "Brother, I need you at the clubhouse. Now, and wake up Doc and Hammer. Tell them to bring the van." Within 20 minutes, 4 Hells Angels stood in the clubhouse office listening to Reaper explain the situation. Diesel was his usual calm self, arms crossed, processing information. Doc, their medic who'd been an Army corpsman before the patch, looked grim. Hammer, the enforcer whose reputation preceded him, cracked his knuckles with barely contained fury. "Could be nothing," Diesel said, playing devil's advocate like he always did. "Kid calls wrong number, phone dies, parents come home and everything's fine." "Or," Doc interjected, his medic instincts already engaged, "a child is in genuine medical distress and possibly danger. My belly keeps moving" could indicate internal injury, possible foreign object, or worse. Reaper pulled up the address on his phone. "Emma Hartley, single mother, works night shift at the packaging plant. Property records show she's renting from..." He scrolled down. "Brett Carver, who lives in the main house while she and her daughter occupy the smaller cottage out back." The name meant nothing to any of them, but Hammer was already moving toward the door. "We going or we talking?" They took the van instead of bikes. Quieter, less conspicuous, and room enough for whatever they might find. Diesel drove while Doc checked his medical kit, and Reaper tried the number again. Still nothing. Rural Route 14 stretched dark and empty at 3 in the morning, scattered farmhouses showing occasional porch lights, but mostly just fields and forest. The address led them to a long gravel driveway marked by a rusted mailbox. They killed the headlights 100 yards out and coasted to a stop behind a line of trees. The property spread before them, a large 2-story farmhouse on the left, a smaller cottage on the right, and a barn in the back. Lights blazed in the main house despite the hour. The cottage sat dark and silent. "That's not right," Doc whispered, pointing to the cottage. "Kid calls for help at 2:47, now it's 3:20 and that place is pitch black. Either everyone's asleep, unlikely after that call, or something's wrong." Reaper studied the main house through binoculars. Movement in the downstairs window. A man pacing, talking on a phone, gesturing with his free hand in what looked like agitation. They approached on foot, Diesel and Hammer circling toward the cottage while Reaper and Doc moved closer to the main house. Reaper's military training from 2 decades ago kicked in, Stay low, watch for dogs, avoid sightlines from windows. The cottage door hung slightly ajar. Not broken, not forced, just open like someone had left in a hurry. Diesel tested it with his boot, letting it swing wider to reveal darkness inside. Clara. Reaper called softly, remembering the name from the property records. It's okay, we're here to help. You called about your belly hurting? Silence. Then, from somewhere inside, a whimper so quiet they almost missed it. Doc pushed past them, his medic instincts overriding caution. He found her in a bedroom closet, a girl maybe 8 years old, knees pulled to her chest, phone clutched in one hand, tears streaming down her face. Her other hand pressed against her lower abdomen. Hey, sweetheart, Doc said gently, kneeling down. I'm Doc. You called my friends for help. Can you tell me what's wrong? The girl looked at these 4 massive, leather-clad men and somehow found her voice. Uncle Brett said the tracker would help Mommy find me if I got lost, but it's moving wrong inside me and it hurts. Doc's face went stone cold. In his years as a combat medic and later as the club's medical go-to, he'd seen plenty of horrors. But a child saying someone had put a tracker inside her body, that was a new level of evil. Clara, I'm going to look at your belly very carefully, okay? I won't hurt you, I promise. He turned to Reaper. Get her mother on the phone, now. Clara's voice was small, defeated. Mommy doesn't know. Uncle Brett said it was our secret. He said the little pill he gave me would help keep me safe, but yesterday it started feeling weird, and then today it started moving around. She doubled over slightly, wincing. Diesel stepped outside, his phone already out, calling the one cop in town they trusted, Sheriff Maria Oakes, who'd worked with the club on missing persons cases before. Meanwhile, Hammer stood at the window watching the main house, his jaw clenched so tight it looked ready to crack. That him, Brett? He asked, his voice dangerously quiet. That's him, Reaper confirmed, checking the photo on his phone against the man visible through the farmhouse window. And he's definitely agitated about something. Doc gently examined Clara's abdomen, his trained fingers pressing carefully. She flinched when he touched her lower right side. How long ago did Uncle Brett give you this pill? Maybe 2 weeks. He said it was vitamins because I wasn't eating enough. But I had to swallow it even though it was really big and hard. She looked up with eyes too old for her age. He checks on me every night after Mommy leaves for work, says he needs to make sure the tracker is working right. He has a special scanner thing that beeps. Doc pulled out his phone, opening a medical app, his mind racing. A foreign object in a child's digestive system that had been there 2 weeks would have passed naturally unless his blood ran cold, unless it was designed not to pass, unless it was lodged deliberately. Reaper, we need an ambulance. This is beyond my capability. But even as he said it, they all heard the sound of a door slamming. Through the window, they saw Brett Carver storming out of the main house, heading straight for the cottage, a phone pressed to his ear. He knows we're here, Hammer stated flatly. Reaper made a split-second decision. Doc, take Clara to the van. Diesel, go with them. Hammer and I will handle this. Doc scooped Clara up gently despite her protests. My mommy, I need to wait for my mommy. Your mommy's going to meet us at the hospital, sweetheart. We're getting you help right now. As Doc and Diesel disappeared into the darkness with Clara, Reaper and Hammer positioned themselves between the cottage and the approaching Brett Carver. He was 30-something, average build, the kind of unremarkable appearance that made him easy to trust and impossible to suspect. He stopped 10 feet away when he saw them, his expression shifting from anger to confusion to barely concealed panic. Who the hell are you? This is private property, you're trespassing. Reaper's voice was calm, conversational even, but carried an edge that made smart people nervous. We're friends of Clara's, she called us, said her belly was hurting. Said you gave her something you shouldn't have. Brett's face went pale. I don't know what that kid told you, but she's got an active imagination. You need to leave before I call the cops. Hammer laughed, a sound without humor. Please do. Call them. We'd love to explain to Sheriff Oakes why an 8-year-old has a foreign object lodged in her intestines. Brett took a step back. That's insane. I never. You told her it was a tracker to keep her safe, Reaper continued, pulling out his phone to show the recording app that had been running since they entered the cottage. You gave her a pill 2 weeks ago. You've been checking on her with a scanner. Your words, Brett, all recorded. The transformation in Brett's demeanor was instant. The concerned uncle facade crumbled, replaced by something calculating and cold. You have no idea what you're interfering with. That device is worth more than your pathetic bikes. It's proprietary technology, and you've just stolen it. Hammer's fist connected with Brett's jaw before anyone could stop him. The man crumpled to the gravel, blood streaming from his split lip. You put something inside a child, Hammer growled, standing over him. You violated a kid for your goddamn technology. Give me one reason I shouldn't finish this right now. Reaper grabbed Hammer's shoulder, pulling him back. Because we do this right. Legal, we let the system handle him. But his eyes told a different story. This wasn't over. Sheriff Maria Oakes arrived with 3 deputies and an ambulance within 12 minutes of Diesel's call. A compact woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing, she'd earned respect in Riverside County by being tough but fair. She took in the scene, Brett Carver on the ground with a busted lip, 2 Hell's Angels standing over him, and her expression hardened. Somebody want to tell me what's happening here? Reaper handed her his phone with the recording queued up. Listen to this first. Then we'll explain everything. Maria listened, her face growing darker with each second. When Clara's small voice described the tracker and the special scanner, Maria's hand moved instinctively to her weapon. Where's the child now? En route to County General with our medic and Diesel, Reaper answered. She's got something inside her causing pain and movement. Doc said she needs immediate medical attention. Maria turned to her deputies. Cuff him, read him his rights. And someone call CPS, we need Emma Hartley located and brought to the hospital immediately. As Brett was hauled to his feet, he finally showed his true colors. You have no proof of anything. That recording is inadmissible. My lawyer will have this thrown out before breakfast. Maria stepped close to Brett, her voice low and deadly. Your lawyer can try, but that little girl is going to have medical evidence extracted from her body. Whatever you put inside her will be cataloged, analyzed, and used to bury you. And these gentlemen? She gestured to Reaper and Hammer. They just saved a child's life and documented your confession. You're done. Brett's bravado cracked. It wasn't supposed to hurt her. The capsule was biodegradable. It should have dissolved and passed naturally. I don't understand why it's causing problems. The admission hung in the air like poison. Hammer lunged forward, but Reaper caught him. Maria's eyes narrowed dangerously. Take him in. Charges are child endangerment, assault on a minor, and whatever else I can think of on the drive to county lockup. As the deputies loaded Brett into the patrol car, Maria turned to the bikers. I need your full statements. But first, she paused, her professional mask slipping slightly. Thank you. For responding, for recording, for not killing him even though I'm guessing you wanted to. Reaper nodded. Kid called the wrong number. Lucky for her, right number answered anyway. At County General Hospital, Emma Hartley burst through the emergency room doors, still wearing her factory uniform, her face etched with terror and confusion. A social worker had pulled her off the production line with vague explanations about Clara being brought in by strangers. Where's my daughter? Emma's voice cracked with desperation. Diesel stood from the waiting room chair, this massive bearded biker built like a mountain, and spoke with unexpected gentleness. Ma'am, I'm Diesel. My brothers and I brought Clara here. She's with doctors right now. They're taking good care of her. Emma looked at him with wild eyes. Why? What happened? The police said something about Brett and, her voice broke. What did he do to my baby? Doc emerged from the restricted area, still wearing the visitor badge the staff had reluctantly given him. Mrs. Hartley, I'm Doc. I examined your daughter when we found her. She told us that Brett Carver gave her what he called a tracker device disguised as a large pill. It's lodged in her intestinal tract and causing her significant discomfort. Emma's legs gave out. Diesel caught her before she hit the floor, guiding her gently to a chair. No, Emma whispered, shaking her head in denial. No, Brett wouldn't. He's been so helpful. He reduced our rent when I lost my day job. He watched Clara when I worked nights. He was kind. Doc knelt beside her chair. Predators often are, ma'am. They gain trust first. Your daughter is incredibly brave. She tried to call 911 for help, but accidentally called our clubhouse instead. That mistake probably saved her life. Dr. Patricia Morrison, the ER physician on duty, approached with a tablet showing imaging results. Mrs. Hartley, I'm Dr. Morrison. We've done an ultrasound and X-ray of Clara's abdomen. There is definitely a foreign object present, approximately 2 centimeters in length, lodged in her lower intestine. It appears to be some kind of capsule, possibly electronic based on the density. Emma stared at the images, her face cycling through disbelief, horror, and rage. How do we get it out? We're consulting with a pediatric surgeon now. The object is positioned in a way that should allow for removal via endoscopy rather than surgery. We'll sedate Clara and retrieve it through a scope. She should recover fully with no lasting damage. Dr. Morrison paused. Physically, at least. The procedure took 90 minutes. Emma sat in the waiting room flanked by 4 Hell's Angels who'd become unlikely guardians through a middle-of-the-night phone call. Reaper and Hammer had arrived from the scene, bringing Sheriff Oakes with them. Mrs. Hartley, Maria began carefully, sitting across from the devastated mother. We've arrested Brett Carver. Based on what we found at his property and what Clara told these men, we believe he's been monitoring your daughter for weeks. We're executing a search warrant on his house now. Emma's voice was hollow. Why? What could he possibly want with an 8-year-old? We're still piecing that together, Maria admitted. But his reaction when confronted suggests this wasn't about Clara specifically. He mentioned the device being proprietary technology. We think he might have been using your daughter as a test subject. The words landed like physical blows. Emma doubled over, sobbing. Reaper, uncomfortable with crying but unable to ignore suffering, placed an awkward hand on her shoulder. Your kid's tough, ma'am, tougher than most adults I know. She stayed calm, called for help, and trusted strangers enough to let us get her out. You raised her right. Dr. Morrison emerged at 6:30 a.m., the early morning sun just beginning to light the waiting room windows. She held a small evidence bag containing what looked like a metallic capsule about the size of a large vitamin pill. The procedure went perfectly. Clara is in recovery and asking for you, Mrs. Hartley. Emma was on her feet instantly. Can I see her? Of course, follow me. Dr. Morrison turned to the assembled group. I have to say, in 20 years of emergency medicine, I've never seen anything quite like this. She held up the capsule. This is sophisticated technology. GPS tracker, biometric sensors, possibly even audio capability. Someone spent serious money developing this. Sheriff Oakes took the evidence bag carefully. We'll need to send this to the state crime lab. If Brett Carver was testing illegal surveillance technology on children, this goes way beyond local jurisdiction. FBI will want to know about this. As Emma disappeared into the recovery area to hold her daughter, the 4 bikers stood together in the hallway. They'd started the night doing paperwork and ended it saving a child from something none of them fully understood yet. Hammer finally broke the silence. We need to know if there are others, if that bastard put trackers in other kids. The search warrant execution at Brett Carver's farmhouse revealed a nightmare that extended far beyond Clara Hartley. Sheriff Oakes called Reaper at noon with an update that made his blood run cold. We found a workshop in his basement. Manufacturing equipment, dozens of those capsules in various stages of production, and a database. Her voice was tight with barely controlled fury. Reaper, he's got files on 23 children. Names, addresses, schools, daily routines. Clara was number 7. The clubhouse went silent as Reaper put the call on speaker. Diesel, Hammer, Doc, and 6 other brothers who'd arrived after hearing about the night's events listened with mounting rage. How many has he actually tagged? Reaper asked. We're trying to determine that now. The capsules have serial numbers. 7 are marked as deployed in his records. We're cross-referencing with the children in his database, trying to notify families quietly before this hits the news. Maria paused. FBI's taking over, but they want to meet with you 4. What you found, how you documented it, you might have broken open something much bigger than a local predator. The pieces were falling into place with sickening clarity. Brett Carver wasn't just a monster. He was a businessman selling child surveillance technology to other predators. By evening, the FBI had set up a command center at the county sheriff's office. Special Agent David Chen, a specialist in crimes against children, sat across from the 4 bikers with genuine respect in his expression. Gentlemen, what you did last night intercepted what we believe is a national trafficking and exploitation network. Brett Carver is talking now that his lawyer explained how much evidence we have. He's been selling these tracking devices to buyers across the country for 18 months. Doc leaned forward. The other 6 kids he tagged, are they safe? We've located 5 so far, all alive, all being brought in for medical evaluation and device removal. The 6th, Chen's expression darkened. A 10-year-old boy in Nevada went missing 3 weeks ago. His tracker stopped transmitting 5 days after his disappearance. We're treating it as a possible homicide investigation now. The room absorbed this horror in silence. Hammer's fists clenched on the table. You're going to get the buyers, right? Everyone who purchased these things? That's where it gets complicated, Chen admitted. Carver used encrypted communications, cryptocurrency payments. We're working on it, but it'll take time. Meanwhile, there could be dozens of children out there with these devices inside them, their locations being monitored by people who paid for that access. A plan emerged over the next hour, unorthodox, technically outside standard FBI protocol, but desperate times demanded creative solutions. We need to smoke out the buyers, Chen said, looking at Reaper. Carver's network expects regular updates, status reports on the devices. If we suddenly go silent, they'll scatter. But if we keep the communication channels open, feed them false information, we might be able to identify and locate them. Reaper understood immediately. You want us involved? You've already proven you're effective. And frankly, you can go places and do things that federal agents can't. We run the technical side, coordinate with law enforcement. You and your chapters around the country become our rapid response when we identify children who need immediate extraction. Diesel spoke up, his voice thoughtful. You're asking Hell's Angels to become child rescue operators. I'm asking if you want to save kids or follow traditional protocols that take weeks while children suffer, Chen replied bluntly. Clara Hartley called you by accident, but maybe it was the right call after all. The 4 bikers exchanged glances. They'd built reputations as dangerous men, enforcers, outlaws who lived outside society's rules. Now a federal agent was asking them to use that reputation for something that mattered more than any of them had ever imagined. Word spread through Hell's Angels chapters across the country with unprecedented speed. The network that normally coordinated rides and club business now mobilized for something entirely different. Within 72 hours, 43 chapters had volunteered for what they were calling Operation Guardian. The FBI provided the intelligence, locations of suspected tagged children, buyer identities as they were uncovered through Carver's database. The bikers provided the muscle and the speed, rolling up to houses at dawn with law enforcement backup, extracting children from dangerous situations while agents handled arrests and evidence collection. In Sacramento, the NorCal chapter rescued twin 6-year-old girls whose foster father had purchased tracking access. In Montana, bikers intercepted a buyer trying to flee with a tagged 9-year-old boy. In Florida, the Tampa chapter found 3 children in a house equipped with monitoring equipment that tracked their every movement. The media caught wind of the story, Hell's Angels working with FBI to dismantle child exploitation network. Public perception shifted in ways that surprised everyone. These dangerous outlaws were saving children, putting themselves between predators and victims, using their intimidating presence for protection instead of enforcement. Clara Hartley became the story's heart. The brave 8-year-old who'd called for help and accidentally reached exactly the right people. 3 months after that midnight phone call, Clara stood on the stage of Riverside Community Center with her mother beside her. The room was packed with media, law enforcement, FBI officials, and over 100 Hell's Angels from chapters across the Pacific Northwest. Sheriff Oakes approached the microphone first. Thanks to the courage of one little girl and the response of 4 men who chose to help instead of ignore, we've identified and rescued 41 children from active exploitation. We've arrested 63 buyers of illegal tracking technology, and we've dismantled a network that threatened children across this entire country. She gestured to Reaper, Diesel, Doc, and Hammer standing at the back of the room. These men didn't have to respond that night. They could have assumed it was a prank or someone else's problem. Instead, they acted. They documented. They protected. And in doing so, they started something that's changing how we approach child protection nationwide. Special